All right, so we're diving into Brian Tracy's Eat That Frog today. And I know you've probably heard of it, but we're going deeper here.
Yeah, we're going way beyond just like the basic stuff,
Yeah, exactly. Like we want to help you actually conquer that to-do list and make some serious progress on those goals.
Yeah, it's so easy to just get bogged down in like the theory of productivity and all that stuff. But we really want to give you like actionable stuff you can actually use right away.
Exactly. We don't just want to repeat the book. We're going to break it down so you can see how it applies to your life right now. So, okay, first things first, goal setting.
Yeah.
Brian Trace is big on this whole crystal clear goals thing. But what does that actually mean? How do we set a goal that really gets us moving?
Well, I think it starts with like moving past just like these vague ideas you have in your head, right? Like you might say, oh, I want to be more organized. But like, what does that actually look like day to day?
Right, right.
A crystal clear goal would be something like, I will create a system for managing my emails by the end of the week, or, I will declutter my desk every evening before I leave work.
So it's like being a specific and having those actual steps you can take.
Totally.
Okay, so we've got those clear goals, but then how do we know what to focus on? There are only so many hours in the day.
Right. And that's where the 80-20 rule comes in, that Pareto principle.
Oh, yeah.
You've probably heard of it. 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts.
Yeah.
But think about it this way. What are the tasks in your work or your personal life that are actually in that 20%?
That's a good point. It's not just about finding those tasks, but really understanding how they fit into the big picture, right?
Exactly. Like, for example, if you're trying to grow your business, spending hours on social media might feel productive,
Yeah.
But is it actually moving the needle? Maybe those hours would be better spent building relationships with key clients or developing a new product.
So it's about being smart with our time and energy, for sure. Okay, so we've got our goals, we know what to focus on, but even then, it's easy to feel overwhelmed with everything on our plate. Where does planning fit into all of this?
I think of planning as like your roadmap to actually achieving those goals. Tracy suggests just taking 10 or 15 minutes each day just to create a to-do list, prioritize those tasks, and break them down into smaller steps.
Yeah.
Might not seem like much, but those few minutes can save you hours of wasted time and frustration later.
It's like taking a minute to sharpen the axe before you chop down the tree.
Exactly.
So what does a good plan look like? Does Tracy have a master list of everything that needs to be done? And then from that, you create a daily list of the key tasks for that day.
Okay.
And then to really prioritize what needs to happen first, he uses what he calls the ABCDE method.
Okay, the ABCDE method. I've heard that thrown around, but break it down for me. How does that work? So it's basically a system for prioritizing your tasks based on their importance and urgency. So A tasks, those are like your non-negotiables, the ones with serious consequences if you don't do them. Those are your frogs.
Got it. The ones we need to eat first thing in the morning. What about the rest of the letters?
So B tasks are still important, but they don't have the same level of urgency as A tasks. Maybe there's a bit more wiggle room with those.
Okay.
C tasks, those are things that would be nice to get done, but they're not going to cause any major issues if they get pushed back a bit.
So it's like you're creating a hierarchy for your to-do list, making sure you hit the most important things first.
Exactly. And then we have D tasks. Those are prime candidates for delegation. So if you can hand those off to someone else, show up your time and energy if it focus on those A tasks.
Makes sense.
And then finally, E tasks. Those are the ones that you could probably just eliminate altogether.
So it's not just about prioritizing, it's about streamlining and getting rid of anything that's not absolutely necessary. Okay, but let's be honest, even with a perfectly prioritized list, those A tasks, those frogs can still feel intimidating. Why is tackling them first thing in the morning so important?
Well, think about it. You're fresh in the morning, you've got the most willpower, and every task after that feels easier in comparison. Think about how good it feels to just get that big, daunting task off your list early in the day.
Yeah, it's like a mental victory that sets you up for the whole day.
Exactly. Plus, it prevents decision fatigue. You're not wasting precious mental energy later in the day trying to decide what to tackle next. You already know what your frog is and you're committed to eating it.
Okay, I'm starting to see the light here, but how do we actually make ourselves do it? Any tips for making that frog a bit more palatable?
One thing Tracy suggests is identifying your frog the night before. So that mental preparation, it really helps you to hit the ground running in the morning.
So it's like setting yourself up for success before the day even begins.
Right. And another crucial tip, once you start working on that frog, avoid multitasking and distractions like the plague. Focus all your energy on that task until it's done.
So no checking emails or scrolling social media while we're battling the frog?
Absolutely not. Multitasking is a productivity killer. It divides your attention and makes everything take longer. Single tasking is the key to conquering that frog efficiently.
I'm feeling pumped already, but let's be real, staying focused for long stretches can be tough. Any strategies for maintaining that laser focus?
That's where the power of time blocking comes in. It's about scheduling dedicated blocks of time for focused work and eliminating all distractions during those blocks.
So basically, turning off notifications, silencing our phones, telling the world to leave us alone for a set period of time.
Exactly. Think of it as creating a productivity sanctuary where you can work without interruption. One popular method is the Pomodoro technique, which involves alternating between 25-minute focused work sprints and short breaks.
Oh, the Pomodoro technique. I've heard of that. It sounds like a great way to break down those larger tasks into smaller chunks.
It is. And those short breaks are crucial for recharging your mental batteries and preventing burnout. Remember, consistent productivity isn't about pushing yourself to the limit. It's about working smarter, not harder.
This is all starting to make so much sense. We've talked about setting clear goals, prioritizing tasks, planning our day, taming our to-do list, and even conquering those monstrous frogs. But there's one crucial piece of the puzzle we haven't addressed yet: self-discipline.
Self-discipline is the secret sauce of success. It's the bridge between knowing what to do and actually doing it consistently.
It's like having a powerful engine, but without the fuel of self-discipline, you're not going anywhere. So how do we cultivate this all-important trait?
Well, self-discipline, it's all about building those habits, those habits that support consistent action.
So it's not just about willpower then. It's like we need to create systems and structures that actually help us stay on track.
Right. It's like working a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
Makes sense. Does Tracy have any specific tips for how we can actually do that?
Yeah, one thing he talks about is the power of positive reinforcement. Now, I know that might sound a little basic, but
Yeah.
hear me out. It's about recognizing your wins, no matter how small they are, and then rewarding yourself for that progress.
So instead of like beating ourselves up for the things we didn't do, we're celebrating what we did of content.
Exactly. And those rewards don't have to be anything huge. It could be something as simple as like taking a few minutes to really savor a cup of coffee after you finish a tough task, or listening to your favorite podcast during your commute as a reward for a productive week.
It's about making the journey more enjoyable and recognizing those small wins for sure.
Right. Another powerful technique Tracy talks about is visualization. He suggests spending a few minutes each day and just like visualizing yourself successfully completing your tasks and achieving your goals.
Okay, so we're talking about like closing our eyes and actually picturing ourselves like conquering our to-do list and reaching those big milestones.
Exactly. Visualization is something that athletes use, high achievers in all kinds of fields. By creating that clear mental picture of success, you're basically programming your subconscious mind to work towards that outcome.
It's like giving your brain a sneak peek of the finish line, which can really help boost your motivation and confidence along the way.
Right, it's about aligning your thoughts and your actions with that desired outcome. So you've got positive reinforcement and visualization to kind of boost your self-discipline. But remember, it's also about playing to your strengths.
So instead of trying to be good at everything, we should really focus on those things that we naturally excel at.
Exactly. Tracy talks about the importance of identifying your core strengths and then structuring your work around those strengths. When you're working in your zone of genius, you're naturally more engaged and efficient and productive. And that makes it so much easier to stay motivated and avoid procrastination.
Makes sense. If you love writing, for example, spending hours on data entry is going to feel like torture.
Exactly. And on the flip side, if you're amazing with numbers but you really struggle with writing, why not delegate those writing tasks to someone who enjoys it?
Delegation is a game changer for sure. It frees up your time and mental energy to focus on what you do best. But what about our weaknesses? Should we just ignore them?
Tracy acknowledges that we all have weaknesses, but he doesn't really advocate for dwelling on them.
Okay.
Instead, he encourages us to focus on continuous learning and improvement. So identify one or two key skills that if you develop them could really enhance your productivity, and then invest the time and effort in developing those skills.
So it's about being strategic with our self-improvement efforts and focusing on the skills that will make the biggest difference.
Right. It's about adopting a growth mindset and embracing the idea that we can always learn and improve. That continuous learning process, it not only boosts your productivity, but it also keeps you engaged and motivated along the way.
It's like a strategic upgrade for your productivity toolbox. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about goal setting, prioritizing planning, tackling those frogs, building self-discipline, playing to our strengths, and even embracing continuous learning. But I think it's important to remember that productivity isn't just about getting things done. It's about creating a life that feels fulfilling and meaningful. Does Tracy touch on that at all in the book?
He does. He emphasizes the importance of aligning your goals with your values. Making sure that the work you're doing is truly meaningful to you.
So it's not just about checking things off a list. It's about making sure those things are actually contributing to a life that we love.
Exactly. He talks about the importance of setting aside time for the things that bring you joy, whether it's spending time with loved ones pursuing hobbies or simply taking time for yourself to recharge.
It's about creating a life that feels balanced and fulfilling, not just productive. I love that. So before we wrap things up, I want to circle back to that central metaphor of eat that frog. Is there anything else about that concept that we haven't really touched on yet?
Well, I think what's so powerful about that whole eat that frog metaphor is it's not just about like getting that one big task done.
Right. It's not just about checking it off the
It's
list.
about building a mindset.
Yeah, it's like building that mental discipline and that resilience that you can then like take into every other area of your life.
Yeah, I love that. It's not just about productivity in like a vacuum. It's like it creates this ripple effect in other parts of our life.
Exactly. And I think another aspect of the eat that frog principle that people often miss is creating an environment that actually supports productivity.
Oh, that's interesting. What do you mean by that?
Well, Tracy talks about having a dedicated workspace,
Okay.
whether it's a home office or even just a specific spot at your kitchen table that really signals to your brain, okay, it's time to work. Yeah, it's like putting on your workout clothes. I help you get in the zone.
Exactly. And it's also about minimizing distractions in that workspace.
Right.
Keep it tidy, organize your supplies, get rid of anything that might tempt you to procrastinate.
So no stacks of unread magazines or tempting bowls of candy within arm's reach.
Well, maybe a small treat as a reward for completing a frog, but yeah, the idea is to create a space that's really conducive to focus and concentration.
It's like creating a sanctuary for productivity. But what about those external distractions that we can't always control, like phone calls and emails?
Yeah, Tracy's got some great strategies for dealing with those too. He suggests like implementing a closed door policy if you have an office or using noise canceling headphones to signal that you're in focused work mode.
So it's a way of setting boundaries and protecting your time.
Exactly. And for those times when you do need to be available, he suggests scheduling specific times for checking email and returning calls rather than letting them just interrupt your workflow throughout the day.
So being proactive rather than reactive with our time and attention, this is all incredibly helpful. But I think it's also important to remember that even with the best strategies, we're not going to be like perfectly productive all the time.
Oh, for sure.
Right.
Tracy emphasizes it's not about perfection, it's about progress. And part of making progress is recognizing that we're human. We need breaks.
Breaks. I thought we were all about maximizing productivity.
We are, but true productivity isn't about pushing yourself to the point of burnout.
Mm-hmm.
It's about working sustainably and maintaining a high level of focus and energy over the long term.
So it's like a marathon, not a sprint.
Exactly. Just like a marathon runner needs to pace themselves and take breaks to refuel. So the week Tracy suggests taking short breaks every hour or so to stretch, move around, or just step away from your work and give your mind a chance to reset.
So those breaks are crucial for preventing mental fatigue and maintaining focus.
Absolutely. And they don't have to be long or elaborate. Even a 5-minute walk around the block or a few minutes of meditation can make a huge difference in your energy levels and productivity.
This has been such a great deep dive into Eat That Frog. I feel like I've learned so much and I have a whole new perspective on productivity and how to actually make it work for me in a way that feels good and not overwhelming.
Yeah, me too. And I hope you feel the same way. Remember, it's not about trying to become some kind of productivity robot.
Yeah,
It's about finding what works for you, experiment with different strategies, and build those habits that support your goals and values.
awesome. So as we wrap things up here, what's the one key takeaway you want to leave our listeners with?
It all comes back to that mindset shift. Eat That Frog is more than just a productivity hack.
It's a philosophy.
Exactly. It's about embracing challenges, building resilience, and creating a life that feels both productive and fulfilling.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And for you listening, what's your frog right now? What's that one thing you can tackle today that'll make everything else feel easier? Remember, you got this.